I got a couple of free plugins from IK. There was no you must do a stream, must do a video, anything like that. Was part of the beta, so testing them out and offering feedback and whatnot. I've been on holiday for a bit, but now it's finally out. I wanted to actually try it all out, this final gold release version effectively. So that is what we're going to do. I've not used the T-RackS module. I used the individual elements and some of the new tools. So we're going to dive into those, have a little look around with what's going on with them, who, what, where, why, when, and how. Let's dive in and yeah, first things first, let's have a look or a listen through the overall track. The few hundred of you that show up regularly here, I didn't want to bombard you with the same music you've heard over and over. I know I've put like 13, maybe 15 tracks out at this point this year. This is something new. It's something that I scrapped, didn't intend to put out, but I kind of like it now. I've come back round to it, and I figured that's a good example for mastering, as it's not really been touched in that regard. So first thing I'm going to do, have a listen through. I'm going to be muting my mic a fair bit today because I'm using the monitors. I'm going to put headphones on at some point. I much prefer to work this way, so if I'm talking and you can't hear me, that's why. So yeah, I'm going to mute the mic for 2 ticks. We're going to have a listen through. We'll do top and tail, and then we'll dive into the tools. Going to look at the metering tool, which is just here, and we'll have a look at the overall suite, which is just here, and try and get this sounding good by the end of today's stream. So let's mute the mic for a sec and have a listen. All right, I should be able to put my mic back on there and be okay. Nice and quiet in the background for me, but the gate should catch that. So listening through, relatively happy with that. What I did do right at the start, I'm relatively good at keeping a little bit at the start of my tracks. A little bit of silence there into the first sound, just the little fade in, just to be sure. I'm gonna go do the same thing at the end, which is the top and tail. Now, there is a standalone version of the mastering soft. I just prefer to do everything in Logic. Then I've always got a Logic project named as such, rather than going to different apps each time. So top and tail in there. Everything pretty good. Had metering up, which has now erased itself, which is fun. But if we loop over a main section here, we get an idea of like the LUFS, the peak, and what's going on with the spectrum. Now we're in C minor. Yeah, C minor I think is what I did this track in. So our lowest harmonics are going to be like in the 30s. We're not going to have anything between 20 and 30. So we can roll off that steepest amount. What's C0 is going to be what? It's 36 hertz. If I'm wrong, feel free to correct me. But that's going to probably be this like fundamental popping up here, so I know all that's right, all our subs are sitting about right, everything's popping up nicely. I'm loving the spectrogram on this, by the way, where I can actually see the bass notes individually where they're sitting. That's super nice thing to have. Scope wise, we're sitting nice and comfortably. Sometimes we go a little wide on the stereo, but we're good mono compatibility wise. Obviously we're quiet at -17 LUFS. It hasn't been compressed. You can see all the full dynamics of the track and like some wild spikes, but we're not clipping anywhere. I think we peaked at 0.5 dB, which is going to be this little spike right up here. And yeah, all is seeming pretty good. There's a couple of things that I definitely want to do to the track though. And that would be the low end. It's there and you can hear it, but at times it could really like push up and like rumble a bit more. I definitely want to do that to it. But yeah, so metering, really nice tool to be included the way it is in a separate plugin, because you can use it for just about anything. Me personally, I don't care about the VU or the ppm meters. Could not care less about them. Not valuable to me. I know some people love to mix and measure that way, but just not my thing. So I can literally switch them off, and this is a far more better layout. And if I want to move bits around, I can have it so the spectrum analyzer is a lot smaller, and we've got much more over here in the, I forget the type of graph, was it FTT or spectrogram? Yeah, useful tool. We've got basically everything I need, like in a quick look at it. Super nice. And then the T-RackS mastering rack is individual in itself. By the way, if you've got any questions, do throw it in chat today. I'll be checking it every now and then. It seems to be working for me, but I do have a hit and miss on it. I'll just put a test in. I can see myself right there, which is useful. I'll pop that up every now and then just so I can check over any queries. Cool. So I think what we'll do now is I'll pop some headphones in so I can work and keep the mic on the whole time without flashing back to you guys, and then we'll A/B test on the speakers as well. Nice way to do it, I think. So get these boys in here. I prefer the master on my speakers, but obviously for this example, speakers, microphone, feedback loop, not what we ever want. So we're muted down here now. That should be sound. And yeah, so let's have a look how this thing works. This is definitely not what I'm used to in terms of like a mastering chain, but I do quite like the way it's working. And some of the new tools are very useful. The first thing that I want to show you is this guy here, because this is free. If you go and download the free version of T-RackS 6, you get this tool with it, and it is the best version of this type of thing I've seen, and the fact it's free is mint. So what you can do, take any module, you drop it down here, and this is your chain at the bottom. Now, this is called Master Match X. It's a match EQ, but it does a lot more. It's got a limiter and other bits in it as well. It's kind of an all-in-one mastering tool. We're gonna need more than just this in a lot of cases, but again, free tool, very good. I recommend picking it up just for that option alone. There's not a link in the description. You'll have to go and Google it. Frustration from some people, like I'm clicking on this, I can't see it. You have to turn the module list off, then you get the interface. Okay, now the interface for this is kind of odd. We have to do a reference first. which is what we have to do in a lot of cases. So if we loop around like a loudest part of the track, like we've got here, have that so it's a decent level in my headphones, I can actually take these, like all these bars here. Now, if I hit analyze, it's going to take this as a reference. Now, unlike, but I need to choose its match point first. Now, usually you'd analyze something, get like an EQ curve, and then bring it to it. In this case, we're going to choose D&B, then the analyze button pops up. Now we hit analyze and it's waiting for audio. We can also analyze as long as we want, rather than just like a small snippet of a track, which is nice, because if you've got a change coming up like this track does, it's nice to have that in there and recorded, right? So we switched up there. So I'm going to capture a little bit of that as well. All right, now I'm going to hit match. This is going to get considerably louder, I'll warn you, but we shouldn't clip. Okay, so it's now matched that to what it thinks its drum and bass curve is. If we take it off, made a big difference. But you always got to be wary. Is it that the fact it's now louder that makes it feel better? Could be the case. Now in the standalone version, you can gain match, which is useful. In this case, we can't unless I go and put another tool on, but we're going to try and stick all in T-RackS in Logic for today. Morning, dude. Yeah, I am good. Thank you very much for being here. Like I say, we're just having a look at T-RackS 6. If you got any questions, throw it below. But yeah, all is good, man. I took a little bit of time out. I worked too much basically and burnt myself out. So I ended up taking like 2 weeks downtime. Came back, did that EP release, which has gone nicely. Yeah, a few thousand people picking up your EP is like, yeah, absolutely blessed moment. But yeah, cool. What was I waffling on about? Yeah, loudness and the fact that it's now a lot louder. We can switch the whole module off like this. And then we've just got the reference up here. If you don't like that particular matched reference, right, you can switch it. Now we've got it captured, it does it immediately. Hip hop, that big boost in the low end. I'd say the D&B one's actually pretty spot on. It's nice to have a dedicated D&B one as well. The other options that do a similar thing don't have dedicated D&B, it's always just EDM. I think it does a pretty good job. Now you can push the EQ match up. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's doing that much, but actually it's a huge amount of gain difference in there. I think subtle's a lot nicer personally. We can make it linear phase as well if we're finding there's anything coming up in there. One thing I'd like the option to like drag out and ignore maybe the bottoms and the extreme tops. But for the most part, it's all right. Gain reduction, taking it down less than 2 dB, all good in that aspect. The limiter, if we take it all the way down to 0, we're not quite gain matched, but in that ballpark. We could take the compressor off as well. Again, still not quite gain matched. Look at that match EQ kind of going in, but it gives us an idea where we're at. I think in this instance, just kind of matching the overall profile is a really nice touch. What I would do, however, is I would use that right at the end of a chain, and I'll try and fix any problems beforehand before adding like a little bit of special sauce. What I will say super quickly, if we get rid of it, add module back in, we can also do our own matches, which is nice. So you can do load reference and put your own tracks in to match an EQ curve. If you've got an EQ curve for an album, an EP you're working on, or what I tend to use is some very specific tracks that I like to reference and use that curve of. I tend to mix to them rather than EQ match, but the option's there, so very useful, which is a good touch. Obviously, get rid of anything out of the chain, you can disable it or just boom, and it's gone forever. Well, until we bring a new one in. Hey, Cold. I am all good, thank you, buddy. Hope it's good in, I want to say Australia, if I remember rightly. Minimal for audio. Okay. Yeah, like almost nothing caters to D&B. It gets grouped into EDM. And EDM, I mean, you got dubstep, but generally it's like four on the floor, kind of bass heavy music. I know it's drum and bass, but drum and bass is bright, punchy, sharp. And we don't have that big curve in the bottom end because we've got such a spectrum to work with. And then you've got such quick, sharp instrumental changes that you can't have like that big mess around. It's all good. So the game match option, I mean, you can do game match in your DAW various ways, but it's in the standalone version. I don't know why, like, why not stick it in this version? Or maybe it is and I just can't find it. I've read through the manual, but the version of the manual I had was like an unfinished thing. So I've had to email out today and be like a couple of things like, I don't understand how they work. But yeah, I don't know why not like put it in on the output here or something. Just give us like a little switch as well. Like this chain icon up here, like it doesn't tell you what it does. And I can't figure out what it does. And it's not in the manual. I thought originally like you'd chain it together and then like your A, B and C would chain together and like have changes would happen across all of them. So you could then measure it, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I can't figure out what else it would be. Anyway. Let's try and get something done with this track. There is a new tool called Bass One. If you have used, I think it's just called IK1, this guy right here is a similar thing, but it is focused just on the bass. Now, I want to see if I can use Bass One version to do what I want to do with the low end and kind of like, I guess, crunch it up and probably compress it quite a bit. So let's figure this out and see how this works. Just went into, oh yeah, I forget Australia's like the flip side. You're just going to spring. Oh, you lucky. Yeah, I'm not allowed to swear on here or I'll get demonetized and copyright stricken, all that fun jazz again. But yeah, you lucky dude. Whereabouts in Oz are you? I've got friends in Adelaide and a good friend of mine from Liverpool's just moved out to Sydney. He's just trying to set up his new life there and discovering that all of your taxes are apparently a separate thing rather than just the standard 20% on everything. And you have to file it all separately. So he's enjoying that currently. Right, so we leap over this. Well, first off, I don't want that to just like add 3 dB. I don't want that to be adding. I don't want drive. I don't want analog. I don't want extra harmonics. I don't want focus. I don't want that. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is probably just save a preset of that if I can. Save as, we'll call that init type, I don't know, everything. Artist name, song name, what? All right, sure. I don't know if they're doing a whole like share the preset thing. I don't care. I just want that. So I've got a default one that's always blank. Okay. So what can we do with this? What happens if we put sub on? I'm going to keep the meters up here. I think you can see them without my cam being in the way. We bash sub on. Okay. So we're getting extra sub harmonics down there as to be expected, even though we've just put it on. Crank it right up. All right, we don't need anything down here. It's not going to be harmonic relevance to us. So if we switch it off, cool. So that's a harmonic generator. Add in some extra harmonics down there. That's kind of useful. All right. Okay, let's loop around. I'm going to loop around a really small section. Sorry if that's boring as hell. Okay, so that's kind of doing a little bit of what I wanted. And the sub does actually do the sort of sound I was looking for, but we're going to have to go and deal with that extreme low end. Or just make sure it's at least safe. Low cut at 30. Bring the low cut all the way. Well, actually, the low cut's at 30. How are we then adding harmonics all the way down to 20 hertz? That is a good question. I'm assuming the cut must take everything out and then the harmonics add that separately so they're nice and clean. Not potentially. All right, that's useful. I can solo out the area I'm working on. Yeah, everything's probably around there. Definition day. Not what we need. Oh, okay. Okay, so that's giving us some extra high harmonics, which that might be solving our problem. If you don't know, by the way, on these plugins, what push does, it takes all the controls that you've set and there's like a macro, puts all of them up. So that's basically putting them all up. Well, I assume it won't touch the filters, but putting everything up by like +3 or whatever you decide to go to. It's like a macro control for everything you've set, so you can kind of push your settings. Okay. Well, it's doing a little bit, but I think I need to control that low end more. What's drive give us? Nah. Okay. I'm going to roll with that really subtle change. But I'm going to want to compress after it. But I don't want to compress everything yet. I want to control that low end more. That's the thing that I think in this track. Oh, by the way, I hope the gate's working and you can hear me properly when I'm talking. What I think I need to do is compress that sub a little bit more on the low end and then lift it up a little bit more in the mix. I think multiband compression is going to be the way to go, because it just gets buried at times by the fact I've got really sharp and speedy highs. Melbourne, awesome. Yeah, so that's doing a little bit of what I want. Let's try the multiband compression aspect of that and see what we can do with it. Fun fact, I was born here in the UK, so I am British, but my family are from Northern Territory. I've never actually been. Is it Darwin? Right up north, where it's like 100% humidity most of the year round. So I think multiband limiter, not what we're after. Let's have a look at doing the new channel strip. Like it's a little early to be diving into the multiband compressor side of things. Do we even have multiband comp? Okay, dynamics, got this filter at the top. Channel, lo-fi. Quad compressor's gotta be our guy, hasn't it? So let's drop that into the chain. Yeah, happy days. Right, can I solo out a band? I can. Pretty much the band we want. Let's take it from where we drop into that main section. Okay, cool. I get how you work. Okay, so something like that. Probably have to go quite extreme. Over 1. Yeah. Not the best visually, but we can see it pumping down. We've got the gain reduction of only about a decibel at the minute. It's hard to tell what I'm going to need down in that low end, but I think probably about 3 dB of compression and then bring it back up. Back down quite a ways. Somewhere in that kind of realm, and we'll bring it back up just to 2.5. All right, so that's too much. All right, so it's less than I thought. So we can gain this back up a bit, a little less on the compression, bring it back, maybe only 1.5. So surely you can hear what a massive difference that makes. It now has this big weight that the whole track sits on, rather than it sometimes obscures. Yeah, that's pretty much what my granddad used to say. Like, nobody really lives in Darwin, you kind of exist up there. I think my granddad was initially, when he lived up there, was working in mining up there or drilling for oil or something like that. But we're talking like nearly 100 years ago at this point. Yeah, the ultimate humidity of the Northern Territory. But yeah, all UK now. Pretty much the entire family. My granddad moved over. Well, he passed away in 2020, but he moved over like 60 years ago, maybe 50 years ago. Yeah, is what it is. Thoroughly want to go and visit like where he grew up at one point, but pretty much everyone has said like, yeah, don't bother with the Northern Territory. It's too much up there. Right, so hopefully we can hear that that's now got a much weightier bass for it to sit on. It suits the track a bit better, and we've got the headroom and everything to work with. All we've actually done, we're only boosting that 1.5 dB, but to me it makes a massive difference in the headphones. I'm going to mute the mic for 2 ticks and check it out. Okay, so I've been naughty and not washed my headroom properly. Now clipping a little bit, but also on the speakers, I'm noticing that this is doing a little bit too much. So what I will do here is take the harmonics probably down to 2. I might actually bring this up the mid 30s. We've got the low note in there already. We don't need it adding anything else in there really. Might end up getting rid of this entirely. It's a nice tool, but it's just not servicing what we need right now. Okay, so I think attack wise, we're going to go a little bit slower on the sub, maybe give it just 20 milliseconds to catch it. And we're probably going to have to pull it back just a little bit on terms of gain staging. So we haven't gain staged very well. About 20 milliseconds. We're at 170 BPM, so it would be 18 something milliseconds, but roughly around there I think it's going to be right. And I want it to be the mega slow release. I'm going to leave that up at 250. And it's going to go back to base 1, and I'm actually going to take the output back here by 1 dB and give ourselves that headroom back that we've lost, adding in those harmonics and sub. All right, so we're still clipping, it's still causing something to get through. We'll take another whole dB out on the output of here because I like what it's doing, and we're going to make it way louder later. We don't want it clipping now. Now I'm just going to have a listen to these individually real quick. I'm feeling like that's right. I'm feeling like there's something a little bit harsh up here that I might want to look at. I don't think this is necessarily the tool to look at it. I want to see if we've got something with a de-esser in. And we have a dedicated de-esser right here, so let's pop that in. And I don't think I've ever used this. If we go to 2-band, 3-band, does that give us? Gives us more of a bell curve, and I can find the range. Like a horrible little hiss. There it is. And we capture it though and control it, hopefully. Normal. Flip in again. Well, that's super subtle, but for me, in my headphones, more than on the speakers, that around that 4K, is it around 4K? Yeah, that little bit of the shaker was just like a little too much. Now this only catches it at those certain points here, like the top of the snare, bit of a shaker that are coming together and just becoming too much. It's pulling it back about -4 dB when it does catch it, but that makes quite a big difference to me when I listen to the track. Just looking here to see if we've just got an absolute like classic gain knob control, because that'd be kind of useful. But we haven't, so I'm going to take the clip gain of the overall track and give myself some more headroom to work with. Just drop it by 3 dB in the door here. As we keep running out of headroom when we move plugins, we're clipping. It's just no fun. I think in a lot of areas we're mostly there, like controlling that low end and bringing it up changes a lot of the track. What I do want to do is have a little look at the mid sides. I don't really care about this section here so much, but we need to check the mid sides out in like the main drop section for sure. And I want to have a look at what's going on below 30 Hertz. Probably roll it out with an EQ, to be honest. Even though we've added something in there, it was giving us what we want a little higher up. It doesn't need to be there. It's not harmonically relevant to the track. It doesn't add anything being there, apart from it might well be the reason we're having headroom issues. That quad compressor doing so much work. Okay, so yeah, let's find a useful EQ. I like this guy. I've used this quite a few times. So we're going to drop that in. By the way, you can have up to 16 plugins in the chain, and you can do stuff like this, which kind of blows my mind. We don't really need that in mastering, like dual processing, but in mixing, if you want to like add a reverb chain off and things like that, you can, which is super nice. Maybe we'll explore that in a future video if anyone asks. Just have a little sip of my tea before it's totally cold. Lovely. Okay, so what we can do here is we can have a look at the mid sides if we want. So we can go like mids, like so. We can go sides if we want. Go mid side or left and right. The type here, it's basically the types of curves that it's going to copy. You can change the shape then of each band that you've got. Now, we've got this one band here. The main thing that I want to do here is make that into a roll off like that. And honestly, I can probably bring this up to like 28. Anything below that's just not needed in this track. I say in this track. You might have, if you've got something like F, I think you can go a fair bit lower. In C minor, like I think it's 36, might be 32 hertz is the lowest note you have. So rolling that off, that shouldn't be causing any clipping. It has given us like 0.3 of gain, which is what happens. I've got to say, I think we're pretty much there. I don't think there's anything to clean up in terms of the sides. I am just going to pop another EQ in. But I do hear something kind of throwing me off. We can put that before. We want to go mid-side and we want just the sides in this instance. We're going to do the same thing. Okay. We're taking away our sides now. That would be our mid signal. Bleep. I think the sides we can take away up to about 50 and it actually gives us a better sub. It's gonna, unless you're on a great set of headphones or you happen to have monitors and a sub going, it's gonna be really hard to hear this, but I must have left something in the sides that's interfering with the mono signal in the middle. Taking it away just gives us, again, a better low end, which is what this track I feel was struggling with. In case it's not clear, the way I've done that is over here on the left hand side, we put it in MS mode, which is mid-side mode. And instead of having the equals in the middle, we've gone to just the sides. So it's processing just the sides and just taking the low end up to about 50 hertz, where there was just must have just been something left in there, which to be fair we could see in the metering. You can see now we've not got those super low harmonics between 20 and 30 flying up all the time. It's got that better bit of control there. But I think the last thing we really need to look at is loudness with this track. What's your mastering chain? How does this compare? My mastering chain is never the same twice, if I'm honest. It's always per track. However, with that said, I primarily use Ozone Fab Filter. In fact, hang on, if we go into here, master, here you go. So Bus Force is something I use a lot. The BX True Peak Limiter, Master Desk, I don't ever really use that. They were in there for a review. Lursa Mastering Console sometimes is amazing for compression. Ozone 11, massive go-to. Passive EQ, massive go-to. Pro DS, massive go-to. Prefer that over what Ozone 11 can do. Pro Multiband, sometimes better than what Ozone does. Pro Q3 speaks for itself. It's like the EQ. Shadow Hills Mastering Compressor, I use that sometimes. SPL Iron, I use that all the time. Tonal Balance 2 usually sits on there, and I can check that as like a reference point. T-RackS 5.1, which we looked at in here, which we're probably going to use in a minute, but the version 6. And then the UAD Portex. That's usually the things I'll go to for my master and what I'll pull off. So there is a T-RackS plugin in there overall, but yeah, generally a fair bit different, hence having to figure out the multiband compressor I've never used before. But we're going to do loudness now, and something else that should be in there actually is the tool we're going to bring in now, which is going to be a soft clipper, which I'd usually do that a little earlier on, to be honest, but the classic clipper can go just about anywhere and does a superb job. We can pop that guy on there. What we're going to do here is we want this to only be clipping by about like 1 dB, maybe even less, and it lets us get so much extra gain out of it. Now, for how dynamic and spiky the transients are in this track, I might not even need to touch the gain. I can literally probably get what I need just adjusting the slope and where it catches it. Like so. Should leave us at about the same gain. Minus 5.8. 3.2. Oh. All that's doing is saturating the tippy tops of the most extreme transients in this bit here. So it's like dropping off these bits here, but because they're so frequent, there's so many of them, it seems like it's always doing it. And I've literally only done it with the slope, like the gain's still set to 0. That just lets us get a bunch of extra level when we put in the next tool. Now, usually we'd just use a limiter, but I'm going to use 1 right here. This will immediately become a lot louder. Usually, I don't know if my preset will show up. Guessing not, because it's a new tool user created. Hey, that looks like it's me. No, because they're still out, but everything else has been zeroed out. Apart from bass punch. Cool. This has some wicked tools on it. Now, we've looked at the high end a little bit with that de-esser and just pulled it back a touch because that's what I felt it needed. Focus is really good at bringing up the area sort of in between that helps the track pop. I'll just pop it up and like do it too far and it's horrible. Yeah, awful, but just a touch of it. It'd be great at finding that area. Air is exactly what you think it would be. It's what I would use the Portex for, to just do that massive like sweeping lift. I really don't think we need any more high end in this track. In fact, it's possibly overcooked as it is, and it would be tempting to dial it back like that. The width tool on this is very, very good, as in you can crank it right up and get loads of width and it still retains its mono compatibility. Again, you don't want to overdo it. This track's, I think, pretty wide, right? If we bring it like that, there's a big difference. That's what it would be like mono. But it's actually like this. We could maybe automate this and have it push out. That's kind of nice, right? .3. I don't want analog on either. Now, I think we've retained transients pretty well, but we can do that and get all our transients back for the most part. But we need to have a look at level over anything. Now, if I was saying, hey, it's only going to Spotify, do the -14 LUFS thing, maybe, but I'm going to crank this and try and get some real level out of it. It'll show us where the mix falls apart pretty quickly. But if I can get at least -10, that'd be a nice ballpark. Eventide Elevate. Eventide Elevate has to be one of the most groundbreaking mastering tools I've used. Limit via band and adjust the transients via band. Adjust the transients via band. Okay. I'll be honest, like I think I've got an Eventide EQ that's like not even installed. I've never even looked at it. Yeah, I probably should do. I mean, there's other things in my mastering pack there that aren't in there for whatever reason since I moved to this machine. But like other stuff that I massively recommend. Tokyo Dawn Labs, this thing here, de-edger. Like you see Soothe all over the place. This does what Soothe does, but with 3 controls. Like it's a mint little tool. Massively recommend that all the time. But like that limit input, I'll have to go and have a look at it. What's it called again? Eventide Elevate. Okay, I will try and remember and have a look at that. If you see a review on the channel, you know it came from you. Let's crank this up. Worth noting actually, the metering here, you can switch how it reads back to you. So like LUFS numerics currently set to integrated, so we'll need to roll through the whole track to get an idea. The LUFS meter is set to momentary. Yeah, so that's kind of important. So we're getting a bit on level. I'm going to push that just a touch. Like I said before, it's a macro that just kind of accentuates everything, but these guys that are at 0 aren't getting pushed. It'll maybe bring the air back a little bit for us and push focus a little harder, push the width a little harder. But let's have a listen through. I am going to crank the volume right up on my speakers, so muting the mic for 2 ticks. All right, I'm relatively happy with how that's sounding. It's now just going to be, how do we get that level out of it? I think we're going to have to use another limiter. Very loud in my headphones right now. If we go dynamics, stealth limiter, it's going to have to be our final little touch on there. You think the Kirchhoff EQ is nicer sounding than Fab? My argument would be Fab filter is basically transparent. It doesn't add anything. It does it without sounding like it's being EQ'd. If I want sound and character, personally, I pick out the UAD Pultex. I think they're the best sounding there is overall. And the other one that I grab is, I think it's a soft tube plugin, but from Native Instruments. Where are you? So this guy here, the passive. I use that all the time for like big sweeping boosts and even cuts as well, to be honest. I think that's a mint EQ. But only if I want that little bit of character. If I want it to be transparent and clean, I go for Pro Q. Yeah, and the fact that you've got the dynamic EQ as well, like, you know, if you're EQing the vocal and you also want to do the de-essing in that same EQ, there's like very little tools that let you do it that well. Neutron's a good example, but Fab filter just is way more intuitive. It just works better. And then the fact that if you've got say harmonic vocals and ad-libs and things going on, you put the EQ on them, you can then see the exact bit of feedback from all those channels as well. Like it's so good. There's a reason like so many people use it. Yeah, I'm not using EQ or plugins to add to my sound. I wanted to stay out of the way. Yeah, because I do sound design as well though, and I want to add a bit of character, and I do like a bit of hardware emulation for sure. I go for the options. But again, I used to put like NLS on every channel and all of that. Not even using them all on the TV. Really, so you just think the Kirchhoff sounds better? Let's try and get the loudness out of this track and then we can talk shit. Stealth limiter. I haven't used this since it came out. I don't tend to gravitate to it, but it was very, very good. Let's see if I can get the levels out of it. Let's get the metering up. I think I need to get like another 5-6 dB, which is a fair bit without losing those transients. But I can then potentially switch the order of these and put some transient back in using one. We'll see how we go. By the way, I'd love the opinion of anyone else who is watching. How do you think this sounds? I'm pretty happy with it. It's maybe a little bit too much in the tops, but I'm not using any of my normal metering, so I'm doing it completely by ear here. I'm pretty happy with how it sounds. I said out ceiling 0.1. We want left and right together. Input out ceiling. I'm going to go to minus 0.2 on out ceiling. We want tight. ISPL. Do we need that to go to 16? Maybe not. Dithering at this stage, no. In the sample peaks, no. Cool beans. Let's give it like 4 dB. See where we're at. That is so cold. Other thing, I'm not used to this room. You may or may not have noticed, but I'm in a new room. And I've done all the sound treatment. I lasered it from the speakers. So like the panels behind me, where am I? There. Are like laser focused for reflection from there. But I'm not used to the room yet for sure. cold. I think if he drops any links in chat, it automatically filters them out. But dude, like if you've got an artist name or do like at for your SoundCloud or something, absolutely share that. I'm going to go stealth limiter right after the clipper. It's giving a fair whack of like 7 dB at the minute. I'm then going to use one that's giving a fair old pump up as well. But I'm going to push that a little bit more, but I'm also going to give it some transient back, and it's going to kind of fake the transient information. It's like doing upward compression, or how it fakes it, or best I can understand when I hear it. On integrated, no, actually we can go loss numeric, we'll take momentary. I want the meter to display the integrated this time for us. Well, I'm going to put Logic's meter underneath this. I'm kind of curious about something. Okay, so I was sure that I was pushing that way louder in terms of integrated LUFS. Now Logic's meter tells me I'm crushing that. So my mix is going all the way up to minus 4.7 and it's squeezing the hell out of it. The meter here on integrated LUFS is going to minus 13. So there has to be something going on that isn't right. The targets, that should just be like the minus 23 that's down there, shouldn't it? Let's put it on dance. Yeah. Could be like pumping it right up there. Standards and reference, that shouldn't change how it's being gauged, which it doesn't. Use extreme reference, peak. Why is that so drastically different? Let's reset both, take it over this section. Like momentary, spot on. Often Logic's readout's a lot faster, but they're right where they should be. But integrated, completely different ballpark. Yeah, how can that read integrated LUFS at minus 11.9 and Logic's reading it at minus 4.4? How can that be a thing? I do not understand that at all. And settings wise, it's nothing to do with the targets or standards because they're currently all switched off. That does not make sense to me. Bash zone in as well. Integrated. Okay, so the middle meter is going to be integrated LUFS with no plugins on Ozone. Cool, so Ozone's reading minus 4.8, exactly the same as the loudness meter in Logic. This is reading minus 11.9. That would lead to some mega mistakes. Like I could hear it was being way over compressed, what it should be. Luckily, the mix didn't fall to absolute hell because it's relatively well balanced. That is bizarre. Bizarre is the best way to put it, isn't it? What if let's get rid of the metering plugin entirely and then let's reintroduce it. Not in my masters yet, so it will be IK. This is what I mean about the plugin issue. Okay. It's now been reset entirely, completely fresh. It's reading right now. It's closer, but it's still different, right? We've got minus 4.7 on Ozone, minus 4.7 on Logic, minus 5.1, which you're going to crank your track up like 2 to 3 dB more if you're going at like a LUFS target. That's interesting. Like it should reset. I know it's set to integrated, but it should reset when audio stops or if you click on it. Like Logic has a reset button for a reason. If you reset it in Ozone, it resets. That is something for feedback, I reckon. So we've overdone pushing it way too hard, which means we'll probably get our transients back anyway because we can dial it back like that probably and still get what we need. But for sure, that's iffy, right? Capturing at different points and getting different readings, but they shouldn't, especially when you see that we've got Ozone and Logic get exactly the same number. It shouldn't be half a LUF off. Half a LUF is a few dB. In terms of like your overall loudness, that's a fair bit. It's odd for sure. And the fact that it's not resetting is kind of, I don't think you can like initialize either, can you? Nope, do that. But if we just have that meter in, there's no difference. Can't reset it. No. Interesting. All right, we're going to keep Logic's one up to savor. I want to get an idea. I want it to be somewhere in the minus 10, roughly. What sounds right for the track, but that was too much. Maybe add a bit of transient back. Stealth limiter 1, doing a fair job. Let's see where we're at. I'm with you. Yes, I was. Cool. So there's one more little thing I'm hearing now that we've got our full level or our dynamics back. It is super loud, but it hasn't fallen apart. So blessed that my mix isn't absolute trash, which is nice. Yeah, the one thing I can hear, there's something going on in like the muddy, I'm going to call it the 500 range, that I just want to tweak. So let's go back to headphones for that. I'm not noticing it in the headphones nearly as much, but on the speakers, so it might be an issue with the room, but we'll investigate for sure. Since we've got this here already, let's give ourselves a little something, leap around that busy section. The way I'll do this is the proper stupid way of making a horrible boost until it sounds awful and then seeing if that's the area. I was way off because it's like 300 hertz, but that's definitely it. Sure. And thanks, dude. I'm glad you like the breakdown. That's the main reason I scrapped this entire track, was that breakdown. I decided I didn't like it, and that's why I never put this tune out in the end. I might now that we're sort of finished up. I think it's all right. It's just a bit maybe a little bit of bland. It's a nice mix, like it's a good vibe. It's got some energy. I feel like it needs a vocalist more than anything. I do like a good bit of sampling though. This just kind of showed what was being sampled to make this part. Just like revealing the sample, if you will. And then what else could you do with it? And then just ramp it straight back up into that drop again. Maybe a B-side for another track. Or just throw it on SoundCloud, who knows. I've done that all by ear and in a room that I'm still getting used to. Love the entire tune. Breakdown especially stood out the way the sample played out. Thank you, dude. Also, it's not actually an Apache break, but I'm really glad you think it's an Apache break. That makes me super happy. It's a break that I put together for the new sample pack, because obviously you're not supposed to sample the breaks and then put them in sample packs, although there might be a Think topper in there, but you know, who can say? An Arlo break might also sound like it's from the Think break, but in this instance it's not the Apache. I'm super glad that you got that vibe from it though. That makes me happy. I think it's actually, I think I took like part of a bongo loop from Logic itself and chopped that up. Right, I think the last thing to potentially do was, it's all right, seems good. I'm gonna check out what I would usually put on and see where my balance actually sits. We don't want that, we want penned color. Let's see if what I did by ear somewhat sits within this magical line here, which tends to be my curve. I'll take that. So according to this, we could do with a bit of a lift around 1 to 2K. And I was right about the highs being a little overcooked. So we can go back into here. And go back into 1. I'll take those highs back a little bit. Only a touch overcooked, so I'm happy with that. And it reckons a lift in here. Let's just use the EQ we've already got in. Save just adding plugins all the time. And give a lift here, huh? Of about a dB and a half. Oh, fuck you, adding extra bits in. A bit higher up. Oh, it's not wrong, is it? I did miss that. Yeah, that does improve it. That's a little bit annoying. But hey, for the most part, I got there with a completely new tool and by ear. So I'll take it. I'm going to pretend it was a win entirely. Stealth limiter's nice. I can't hear the limiting on the end, but it's doing a shed load of work. Look. Yeah, that's annoying. What about, I mean, I don't usually bother with intros and whatnot in their balance, but one thing I did consider doing was taking the midsection here, the breakdown that you were talking about, and just lowering it by maybe like 3 dB so there's more of an impact when it drops. But I think the tempo change is enough. Sounds sweet. Yeah, I think the tempo change is enough. It doesn't need the level taken out of it. Yeah, it opens up as well, so that works. Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy. Give it a save. Considering it was done on a live stream as well, I'll roll with that. Yeah, a vocal really would top things off. Yeah, I feel like it's a female vocal, kind of, not necessarily a rap, but something very like rhythmic, less harmonic and more rhythmic with the track. In a female style would maybe, but there's a very full track and it's a mixing nightmare. I'll sit on it for a bit longer. Maybe I'll go and do that. I might see if I've not worked with Heather all year, so maybe Heather's up for doing something. I don't know, busy girl, and I'm busy with kids. I've got this loud on the JBL 300. There is bottom end lacking, but this is StreamYard OBS and being fed audio online, never optimal. No, so the live stream audio that comes from YouTube is maximum 160 kbps, so not even like top tier MP3 quality. And even a channel my size, that is the largest they will allow me to stream until I'm the likes of mega big streamer gamer place. So yeah. Dude, there is a reason I do not sing. I'm not a singer for sure. So when you say the bottom end lacking, could well be that there's no big sub and you're used to it. And that's down to the key of the track. I mentioned this right at the start and a couple of times, but let's have a look at something real quick. And the reason I say I wouldn't put any low end in, let's go to the track itself. I grab Q3, because again, it's got a tool in that's dead useful. The lowest note in this track is here, which is 32.7 hertz. So there is nothing below that 30 hertz range, which is like the real womp of a sub. But 32 hertz is still like a kick in the chest when it comes in. Could I boost it up more? Yeah, potentially, but then the overall loudness is going to have to suffer. Now, when we look back at, let's take those like main section, was it there? It is lacking here, right? But I don't have anything below that 30 range. There's nothing there for me to use. That's why a lot of drum and bass is written in lower notes, like the B, A sharp, yeah, and the almighty. Go down to like G sharp, got that there as well. You start to go 25 hertz. Why you get D&B written in these keys of F, F sharp, G sharp all the time. You've got the sub notes there. So you're at 21 hertz, 23.1, 24, 25. This being in C minor just doesn't have it there. You can put something down there and harmonically you're not going to know that it's not in key, but it doesn't necessarily always work. I could use something like R bass and throw 25 hertz in there, right? So let's go, I'm on the track, let's go R bass. Actually, I think it only goes to 32 anyway. So even R bass doesn't let you go all the way down there. We would have to use Submarine, put that in there. You can solo the bass by doing the mix all the way to wet, turning off sub 2. All right, that's pure sub. Now take that all the way down to 40. So we would put that in the track. We'd have to dial it into, I don't know, probably something like that. Now it's in there and it's more in line, right? It's a tricky balance though. So now the definition of the bass is lost for me. Definitely gives it extra club weight for sure. Again, that's why it wasn't there, and I focused on it as kind of not being there. Let's take the EQs away even. We definitely don't want it in the sides. Let's just disable this band for a minute. No, that's the side band, wasn't it? Does that mean taking that out in the sides made the difference? Oh, that's ace. Okay. Let's disable that 28 hertz. So that's going to let all that mega sub through. They don't ring true to me. I prefer that defined bass sound. But you're 100% right in saying, like, if it's going to go to a club, would it be worth sticking that in there? Maybe. It'd absolutely be a decision. Yeah, most monitors, even the Calis here, I think they go down to 43 hertz or something really random. I've got, if you can see, like some larger ones there with like 8 inches in. They go down a lot lower, but generally, yeah, generally it's kind of, you're aware that it's there because the speaker's trying to generate it, and you get harmonics happening above it, and that's what gives the perception. It's only in a club it would really truly be relevant. Or maybe if you go in film and you need that big sub, but that'd be reserved for special effects anyways. In this instance, I don't think it needs it, but there's a way you could do it using Submarine. Again, it's just not harmonically in there. Not missing any quizzes from the two of you? No. Right, that, I'd say is pretty much me done. How long have I streamed for there? Is that like 2 hours? Hour and 40 minutes, that's not too bad. If either of you got anything you want to chat about, or any questions or any other recommendations for me, and what was it? It was Eventide Elevate. Trying to open Chrome. You probably won't be able to see it because it's fixed on Logic, but Eventide Elevate mastering. Is Elevate a set plugin or a mastering bundle? Let me know. If it's a set plugin, so I can go and look at. Oh, from Newfangled Audio, I'm so confused. Oh, so is Elevate like a suite that you can work in? Everyone's doing suites all of a sudden. Softtube, IK, maybe because Ozone's been so damn popular. Eventide Elevate. Who's split EQ by? Is that by Eventide as well? Yeah, okay. Okay, transient tonal equalizer, cool. Oh, this looks a lot like is it Sonic something Smart EQ? Sonitide? I think I actually covered it for them when it launched. It was so long ago. Sonable Smart EQ. It looks like that kind of thing. Okay. Yeah, the GUI is like basically the same. Well, have a look at those, assuming they've got demos. 30-day demo. Cool. All right, cool beans. Oh, where's chat gone? Where are you, chat? There you are. Pretty much like Ozone, but without stereo. And the SPL Vitalizer, yeah, it's a secret source. My issue is my mastering guy who used to do all of my tunes, when he retired, I just started mastering everything myself. He had the hardware version of that, and the hardware version was so much friggin' better than the plugin. The plugin's from Plugin Alliance, isn't it? It was so much better that I kind of couldn't go back to it. It's ridiculous. Used that. Found the old model worked better with the brakes and used it. Yeah, cool. I've got the hardware. You've got the hardware version Mark 1. From what I could tell, both of the hardware versions, like, yeah, it sounds so much better. The plugin is not even close. And usually plugins are so spot on nowadays. Got it for 18. Dude. I mean, I could install hardware down here, or I could even, I've got like a stack of headphones here. Like you probably just saw me grab these from over there. I've got another 2 pair of Bayers and some Sennheisers over there. I could put some hardware in over there, but for the most part, I'm good. And also I've set up over here. You can't quite see, but it's like my MPCs are along here now, and they're all routed into here. Mate, 18 quid, you can't say no to it. The only things I would really cover are an SPL iron compressor. And I really wanted, and I was in the process of buying the TLA1. It's like their full unit that had 2 EQs, stereo compressor, and the de-esser all in one. And in the process of buying that, TLA went out of business. And all the ones that were like used tripled in price. The LA2A, right? The Warm Audio's LA2A is actually really, really nice. And yes, not all plugins of it are superb, but, and so many people have this and don't use it, this is absolutely superb. So good. Again, soft tube. Their name crops up a lot. It is absolutely superb. I know it's not technically an LA2A, but it is, and it's so good. It beats out the UAD stuff. It beats out anything else I've ever used. If I put strings in a track, or even a soft vocal that's not like super rhythmic but building up, I'll use this all the time. It's so good. Mostly because having hardware is hassle, and usually if I record with a vocalist, I do it remotely. I don't like leaving my house, you might have noticed. Mingus, thanks for covering T-RackS plugins. Been on the fence about upgrading. Doesn't feel like much of an upgrade. I don't know what the upgrade cost is, to be honest, because I did the beta for them. I got an update at the end of it. I assume it's probably 99. This super useful, although didn't come in too useful today, but it's like a sound design tool. I can see myself gravitating to this a lot, hell of a lot. And the Match EQ plugin, which we didn't use in the end. Do you know what? Let's try and use that Match EQ. I'll do it before 1 and the stealth limiter. No, I'll do it after 1, but before the stealth limiter. And let's see if we can match in my balance. And my balance here is a whole album, but let's see if we can do it with pendulum, because I didn't try that. Oh no, we're on equalizers. Where was it? Yeah, this master match. How the master match is being given away for free though, so you might as well go and grab that anyway. Let's see. Oh, how do I load a reference? Choose file or drag it in here. Oh, you can choose 3. That's kind of useful. I don't know if you can see my like whole file selection or not, because I've covered everything up at this moment, but I do have somewhere a masters folder. There you go, master reference. I am going to use, I just hope it doesn't play back. Hold your color, plastic world, WAV from the CD. Yeah, no, don't play. Don't play. So if I hit analyze now and play my track back. Cool. Okay, we don't want the limiter. We don't want the compression. We want the EQ match. We want the input, EQ balance. Okay. Yeah, I don't like pushing it all the way up, but a little bit of the balance, all right, does the job. We can edit EQ though, and I don't want it to touch our low end, because if you put edit EQ on, then you can ignore the high and low. Why not just have that there anyway? That means I can ignore the low end changes because it's not relevant to the key of the track. And then I can push that up a lot more. All right. Yeah. I don't want it to compress. I don't want it to limit. Inputs at 0. So why are we losing so much level? We've had some weird shit happen today, haven't we? Maybe just keep that in the middle then. Hey man, it's useful, but I will say I mixed it pretty well anyway, not to like toot myself too much, but we'd established that because we got a nice loud balance mix. But yeah, it's useful. Anyway, I digress from answering your questions. Sorry, I do that a lot. Yeah, upgrade price 99. Yeah, I see. I was on version 5. They invited me to do the beta, and I gave feedback. And then literally on launch day, it was like, yeah, you've got a full license, which was nice little holiday gift. But yeah, I bought them at the end of the day. I don't know if the upgrade price is worth it since they're giving that away. If you go and grab like the introduction version or whatever, that's in it. Then the other new stuff is base 1. Definitely useful for like some sound design application. Channel strip X like seems relatively useful. Basically trying to do everything the Master X is doing, but to channel strip side of things. So you can target specific instrument types, kind of like Neutron in that regard. If that's useful to you, then it's probably worth it for that. What else was specifically new with it? Oh, this pusher distortion, like multiband distortion. That could be kind of useful as well, right? So if we put that in before the soft clipper, instead of giving a boost around 1K, we could maybe do like a bit of distortion around that range instead. But if you're already on 5, I'd maybe... It's a tough one. If they're your main plugins, like I would probably pick up the update. But if they're not your main plugins and these aren't overly useful, like wait for like an upgrade sale and get it at 49, which you know will happen at some point, right? Toot on, son, toot on, toot on. I can hear that in my granddad's Aussie voice just because you're from over there. I only have one soft tube, which is the saturator. Freaking love it. What saturator? To be fair, right? Soft tube wise, I don't think I got anything. I don't know in soft tube. Dirty tape. That's literally it for actual just individual soft tube plugs, which apparently isn't loading. Probably not updated it to run. I don't know. Just taking its sweet time. But I use basically all the soft tube stuff that soft tube did with Native Instruments, which is like this B60. They did the LA2A. Did the LA2A. They did 76. They did Vari-Comp with them as well. That gets used a fair bit. That's a soft tube processor. Yeah, I do reach for their stuff quite a lot, but I don't have any necessarily independently. I think there's maybe some UAD processors I've got as well that are by soft tube. Yeah, great company. Just don't tend to grab their stuff all that often. Yeah, the Base 1 plugin is most interesting. I think if you're doing some sound design and you're at the mixing stage, maybe not for what we've done today, it's really useful. I use the IK1 a lot. Soft tube saturator, the big silver knob one. Hang on. Oh, just called saturation knob. Oh, it was a freebie, right? Yeah. Yeah, I probably could grab that, to be fair. Again, you've seen the extensive abuse of my like plugin lists, which, I'm blessed, right? Because I've worked with so many of these companies and been given so much. It gets a touch overwhelming at times. Acorn Digital, I took most of it off, kept what I used. Acustica, worked with them, all that stuff. Yeah, it stacks up and becomes overwhelming. And like there'll be stuff that I've just not picked for so long. Oh yeah, I mentioned Sonable and their Smart EQ. I did Smart EQ Plus and EQ2 videos for them way back when they came out. And they're still lingering here on the machine. UVI recently did tape stuff with them. It goes on and on and on. Right, I think though, we're all covered. Yeah, exactly. Don't grab it if you're not going to use it. It's another thing installed that I won't need. But hey, I use a lot of different tools, to be fair. I really do. I'm going to wrap up there unless anyone's got any more quizzes or wants to see and or try anything else out. I hope IK don't get all moody that I had Ozone 11 up and Tonal Balance up, but hey, they're not paying me for the stream. It's not a sponsored stream, so do what I like for the most part. I think what I'll do, boys, is I will just let the tune roll and we'll end our stream right there. And I'm going to go and submit a bug report, I think, for the metering giving me the wrong output. We can do this and camera's going to fade out. Peace. And I'm going to fade out. Thanks for tuning in, guys. It has been an absolute pleasure and I will see you next time. Yes, I'm still using the Bus Force plugin. Let me fade back in. I mentioned it earlier. If we go into my master, which I have like a little master folder of stuff I grab really often, Bus Force is right there. Yes, I still use it. I still love it. I still love the fact that you can manipulate the saturation chain and put it off on a certain frequency aspect. Super, super good for that. I do still use it, do still love it. I'm also, in my bag of tricks, a big fan now of this, which useless on a full mix, just like loop here. Allows you to do such ridiculous stuff so quickly. Like you used to have to set up a massive plugin chain and automate stuff. You've now got the plugins that you would do that with and the automation chain or oscillators or whatever you want all in one place. It's just so friggin' useful for like quick fun. Without giving a full tour of it, I did a full video on it recently. You'll be able to find that on the channel. But yeah, super useful. Loving that tool as well. You know, if I use the tool a lot, if it makes it into one of my like shortcuts, like analog, bag of tricks, master, distortion should be custom. That's not. But yeah. Yeah, I faded back in just for that. Right, I'm going to fade back out again now. Ta-ra.